Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's reading lesson with me, Mr. T. Today, we're going to dive into one of our favorite stories, the Pout Fish. We'll be learning all about the theme of the story, and that's the important message the author or the person who wrote the book is trying to convey. Okay. So, if you can, just give me a quick wave on Zoom here to see if you're ready for learning. So, first we have our learning objective. So, by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify and explain the central theme in Pout Fish by using a graphic organizer, which is kind of like a tool or a bookshelf or a filing tool that we use to help navigate our information better. Okay, so we organize text from the book that we will be reading in a graphic organizer. But we'll get into that later. That's just so you guys have an idea of what you'll be doing today. So for those of you that are basically a little bit more awake, can you give me a thumbs up on your screen if you're excited to get started? So first we have your definitions. So what is theme? Theme is the big idea or lesson that a story teaches us. It's what the story is really about, not just the characters or the plot, but the message we take away. For example, a theme could be kindness, bravery, friendship, any of those, okay? Then we have our supporting details. So how do we figure out the theme? Well, we look at the supporting details. These are the clues in the story that help us understand the message. Supporting details can be things the characters say, how they act, or what happens to them. And then we have graphic organizers. So they're kind of like I mentioned earlier, little filing drawers or cabinets that help us organize our thoughts. So whenever you're classifying information, right, you're going to use a little chart or something that helps break it up easier for you, correct? Okay, so now we're going to have a quick brainstorm. So I want you guys, if you'd like to use the chat box and then type a story or movie that you really like that includes a big lesson, or at least a lesson that you feel is important, okay? And I'll make sure to read some out loud, all right? So just go ahead. I'll give you guys a few seconds for that. Okay, I see Finding Nemo. I see Beauty and the Beast. Okay, I see Mario Kart. Okay, all right. So thank you guys. So now we're going to go into our different graphic organizers. So here I have just three, so it's a little easier for you guys. But essentially, you'll be able to pick your own graphic organizer to show the theme and supporting details from the Pout Fish today. So you can choose between a hamburger template. So this is the one that I grew up with. It's the most fun for me. So if you guys want to do that, you can. You have a concept map, which is more like a bubble map, and then you have a column chart. So a column chart is basically in the name. It's very straightforward. It's kind of just like a regular chart. You have your theme at the top and your three supporting details at the bottom. Bubble map, you're gonna have kind of like a spider web. You're gonna have the main idea in the middle, and you're gonna have your supporting details around the sides. And on the hamburger, you're going to have your main idea at the top of the bun. You're going to have your meat, cheese, lettuce, all that stuff be your three supporting details, and the bottom bun, a concluding sentence. Now, for those of you who choose to do that one, I'm not going to take points away for not having the sentence at the end, just because I know the other classmates who choose different ones are not going to have one. So if you'd like to, that is up to you. If not, that's perfectly fine. If so, then, that's fine as well. Okay, I'll give extra points. Okay, so from your emoji set list on Zoom, choose three different emojis. So for the thumbs up is going to be for the bubble map, which we have right here, a heart for the chart that we have here, and then a laughing emoji for the hamburger. Okay, all right. So here we have an example for you guys. So this is kind of just like for me to show you what I want from you guys, so you have an idea. So from all those beautiful ideas that I got earlier, I really wanted to use the Finding Nemo. So let's look at this example, okay? So for those of you who don't remember Finding Nemo, I put some notes here on the side, just quick bullet points to show you kind of where the story goes through. So we have Nemo, a clownfish who's captured by a diver and placed in a dentist aquarium. His father, Marlin, who's also a clownfish, embarks on a journey to rescue him, joined by the forgetful Dory. Along the way, they face ocean challenges and making friends. Nemo and the aquarium fish plan an escape. Marlin and Dory reach the dentist's office and Nemo escapes, and Marlin and Nemo are reunited with Dory, and Marlin learns to trust his son's independence. Okay, so here I have my paper set up similar to how I want your guys's. So if you prefer paper version, you can make one on your own, or I can have you guys access them on your Google Classroom. I have PDF of those there, so you can have them on your tablets at home or your computers, and you can just type them in, okay? So I have those available for both any kind of student that prefers, okay? So up here we have our topic sentence, which is just another fancy word for main idea. So I felt that the story, Finding Nemo, had a main theme of trust, bravery, and family. So those are like the main ideas that I wanted to point on mine out. So when you do yours for the Pout Fish, you don't have to do specific words for these, but I feel it would be a little easier if you guys separate them into keywords. So something that you felt was more coherent throughout the story, right? So for detail one, my Patty, I have Marlin shows trust by believing in Dory and letting others help him find Nemo, right? Because without trust, he wouldn't have been able to get help, right? Okay. So for our lettuce or our cheese, we have Nemo shows bravery when he escapes the fish tank, even though he has a small fin. So for those of you who watched the movie, remember that scene was very scary, right? Nobody knew where he was going to go. Everybody was kind of scaring him. He was little, but he was still able to push through and escape a little bit because of his bravery. And then our lettuce, or whatever you like to put on your burgers. It's the fun part about this. We have family is important because Marlin never gives up on finding Nemo, and they help each other in the end. So without family, the movie probably wouldn't have existed, right? Because Marlin wouldn't have gone after Nemo, or Nemo wouldn't have tried to get back home so badly, right? Because family is the most important thing. So that's kind of just the way that I separated them. And then, of course, we have our concluding sentence. Like mentioned earlier, you don't have to do this. It's just if you'd like to push yourself. But I wrote Finding Nemo teaches us that with trust, bravery, and family, notice how I did my three keywords, we can face our fears and never give up, no matter how hard things seem. So if you notice, I basically just rewrote my topic sentence in a way that was a little bit more expanded. So that way it sounds a little bit more like a little bit different, but it's the same thing, just regurgitating what I'm doing, right? Just revisiting what I've said, okay? So, and this will be available on your Google Classroom as well if you guys would like to just take a look at it with mom or dad and then just have an idea, okay? So then we have our DOK questions. So for these, we have what is the lesson or message the story teaches us about feelings? So this is going to be more towards your activity. So I want you guys quickly to just write down some answers for this. I'll give you guys a few minutes, but I'm going to read them first and kind of broaden them a bit so you have an idea, okay? So we have what is the lesson or message the story teaches us about feelings? How does the pout fish learn that you can spread happiness instead of gloom? Think about a time when you felt sad. What helped you feel better, just like in the pout fish? And why is it important to share kindness with others and happiness, like the pout fish learns to do? So take a minute just to read through these, understand them, soak them up, and then let me know what you feel, okay? And then at the end, when you're done, I'll have you guys unmute from your mics, and you can share your answer if you'd like to, or click the raise hand button first so I can make sure I see your names, okay? And I'll call on a few friends, okay? So just give you guys a few minutes for that. So now we're going to move on to some possible answers. So again, this is just kind of what I thought for myself. The good thing about the graphic organizers that we're doing today is there's no right or wrong answer. There's things that I want you guys to hint at. So for example, if you tell me the Pout fish was about sleeping, I'm gonna be like, no, because as we read through, that's not what it's about, right? Like that's not really the main point of the story, right? So as long as you get something that's on the right path, I'm not going to take off points, okay? I just want to make sure you have an idea of what the story's about, okay? So these are my possible answers. These are the things that I felt through the story, okay? So what is the lesson or message the story teaches us? For that one, I felt that the story taught us to be happy and spread kindness to others. Okay, so that's just what I received. Maybe for some of you, you thought it was about self-worth. Maybe you thought it was about identity. Maybe you thought it was just about a kiss, things like that. And those are all fine because those all do happen in the story. As long as you're able to back them up with claims, that's all I want from you guys. So how does the Pout fish learn that he can spread happiness instead of gloom? So he learns this when the girl fish kisses him, showing him that he doesn't have to be sad all the time. So remember that scene? She comes down, she's very pretty, very magic, very sparkly, and she just kisses him and he lights up, right? And becomes the kiss kiss fish. So think about a time when you felt sad. What helped you feel better just like the pout fish? So for me, talking to a friend, getting a hug, or doing something fun can help me feel better, right? So for you guys, maybe it's talking to your mom and dad, maybe it's hanging out with grandpa, maybe it's playing games like Mario Kart, maybe it's watching a movie. For some of you, maybe it's sleeping, and all of those are perfectly fine. This one's definitely more towards you. And for last, we have why is it important to share kindness and happiness with others, like the pout fish learns to do? So by spreading kindness, we can help make someone's day better while also helping them feel loved and happy. So that's something that I want you guys to, those last two are more opinion based rather than just the story. But I do want you guys to really go with your theme. So if your theme is like in my case, kindness, then kind of just find a way to because these are kind of like your details, right? Find a way to kind of connect those. Like, why is it that? Okay, so then we have your turn, right? Don't freak out. I know a lot of you are feeling like a pop-out fish in this specific one here, but you're gonna be fine. I'm gonna be here supervising if anything. So let's just dive into the activity, okay? So you guys have here a DIY graphic organizer. So for today's assignment, you'll be choosing a graphic organizer from those provided. So remember back to the three that we showed, and again, I'll have this up for you guys. Remember, we had three, the concept or bubble map, we had the hamburger, and we had the column chart, right? Okay, so any of those three is fine. And you have Pout Fish here with us. He has a hamburger with him, of course, because he's just like me. So after you choose one, you're gonna have to identify the theme in Pout Fish with three details, okay? Three. You can do more than that if you're doing the bubble. I don't mind, but I want at least three, okay? And please, guys, make sure to write a name and date on your papers, just so that way I know whose it belongs to. Um, just so I know, okay? So if you're doing it on text, make sure you put like a little text note somewhere. And if you're doing it on paper, make sure you write it in the top left corner, okay? Thank you, guys. So I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes for that, okay? And yeah, I'll be here. Just make sure you're muted. If you have any questions, let me know. And then for those of you who are ESOL or ESE, don't think I forgot about you guys. If for some of you guys, like if you prefer to just draw it, that's fine too. I know sometimes writing isn't always like the best way to communicate. So you guys can definitely draw it out. I don't mind. I'll take those in. Um, and then you can also record your answers. So if you have mom or dad there or grandma, grandpa, have them kind of record your voice. And then just have them send it in on Google Classroom for the assignment, okay? And I'll make sure I'll grade those, all right? Or for those of you that maybe don't know how to start your details, you can use things like the theme is and one detail is. And I don't mind the structure. I'm not grading on anything like that. I just want to make sure you guys have your ideas down, okay? So I've given you guys a good amount of time. So let's just dive into our example, which is my teacher example. So again, I chose the column chart because I wanted to switch it up from the burger chart for Finding Nemo. But for here, this is just to have an idea of what it should look like and roughly what you should kind of have on there. Now remember, mine is not the end all be all. It's just an example, but I do want you guys to follow certain structures. So the name and the date, first thing, make sure you have that before you turn it in, please. Theme, three details, okay? Three. So for here, the theme from me, I felt was a positive attitude can change the way we see ourselves and the world, right? So positivity. That's what I thought the story was about. To back that up, my first detail here, I have the Pout fish believes he's meant to be sad, right? Because you see throughout the whole story, he goes and he's like, I'm the Pout fish with a pout face, spreading my dreary wearies all over the place, right? And every time one of his friends try to help him out, he just says, I'm the Pout fish, right? Like that's his job. And that's not true, right? Not all of us have to be sad all the time. So then we have our supporting detail two. His friends show kindness and try to help him see things differently, right? So you remember the clam, the squid, the jellyfish, they all try to help him out by telling him that doesn't have to do with anything, right? You can be happy. But again, he's so sad and negative that he can't see it. He's so gloomy that he can't see past that. So that was my second detail. And supporting detail three. So when the girlfish gives him a kiss, he realizes he can spread happiness instead of food. So that small initiative from the girlfish made him feel so loved and happy that he felt that he could look at things differently. So he's no longer the pout pout fish, he's the kiss fish, right? And I thought that was a really good takeaway from the story. I mean, not because you need a kiss to be better, but the kiss for you guys can be a hug, a hangout with your friend, an ice cream, something that cheers you up, right? And at the end of the day, I think that was an important takeaway from this book. Wouldn't you agree? So if yours looks something like this, great. If not, no worries. I'm gonna give you guys to the end of the week to do this. I do expect it to be turned in on Google Classroom, so please just make sure if you did it online, you save it to your PDF, or have mom and dad help you out with that. If not, I'm always here. And if so, if you did like on paper, you can take a picture with it on your phone or tablet and then just submit it through there, okay? Just please make sure your names and dates are on there, all right, guys? Okay, so, all right. So thank you guys so much. Again, Mr. T's class. I'll see you guys again next week. And just remember, like the back of the book says, sometimes a kiss is all it takes to turn things around. Okay? All right, bye guys. Okay, so for my reflection, so, why did I make the choices you did for this lesson? So, in regards to subject area, the reason I chose that subject area was because reading has always been a very big part of my life. Like, right now I'm an art ed major, but if I wasn't, I'd probably be an English major just because I love reading that much. I really do like writing essays a lot. Like, things within that subject matter have always just been very important to me, especially in a time where technology is kind of taken over. So, I think it's very important more than ever to have them. So I wanted to make sure I could do a lesson surrounding it. Standard wise, I've always really liked the idea of theme. When I was younger, I thought it was such a cool way to kind of connect with other people about things because we didn't necessarily have to have the same answer, but it was so interesting to see how many different people had the same idea or how many people had different ideas. And I also noticed that a lot of students have a hard time with theme or concepts. So I wanted to make something that would be a little bit easier for them to understand and like digest with a book that I grew up using, because this was actually a book that I grew up with. So I really enjoyed it. Stimulus variation. So I chose, I think was change in speech. So I tend to like mostly speak really fast. So it's really hard for me to slow down and actually like speak with emotion. Like for certain people I can do it with, but on Zoom, like especially like with kids, it's like a little bit harder, especially if I feel like I'm being watched or recorded. So I tend to get a little nervous, so I tend to log up. So I did have a script with me. But but for the most part, I actually found myself layering away from it and giving a little bit of my personality in there, which I liked. So I had a lot of fun with that one. And assessment. So I'm never really been a big fan of graphic organizers just because I felt that they were kind of annoying when I was growing up. But I thought that they did have an important like history in our classroom. I think they do have an important takeaway. And I feel that they really are a great resource for students when they're breaking things up because you can structure them in a way that's easier for you. So like I mentioned, the hamburger, like that was my favorite just because like I like food and that was cute. For some kids, it's the column. For others, they like the bubble or the flower method. So I thought giving them that option would help a lot with their grades and stuff. So what was the most difficult part about planning this lesson? I think for me, it was just the execution. Like I had a fun time making together the slides and such, and I had a really good time writing the examples. But I think for me, just getting to a point where I could not ramble on for so long, but also still with like keep within the same genre of what I was talking about was really difficult because I have a very bad tendency to just kind of like go off on things. So you'll see that a little bit in this one, but I had a really hard time with that just because I tend to be very nervous. So that was a little bit of a fear factor for me. And what are your plans for MicroTeach 2? So for MicroTeach 2, I do still plan on using this book. but I do plan on doing an art lesson. So as an art ed major, I really wanted to do art, but I wanted to save it for my in-person since it would be a little bit easier to interact with people. What will I do again? So I'll probably make sure to keep the script not like in front of me, but I'll probably rehearse one. So I'll have kind of más o menos like an idea, just because I feel like that helped me a lot with bullet points and such. And what will I change? I'll probably change the what I'm going to be focusing on. So instead of my change in speech, it'll probably be pausing or like I guess like my gestures because I feel like I'm a very expressive person, but I don't use that when in situations of nervousness because like I'd lock up. So I want to make sure that I'm like really honing in on that. Um, and I'll probably also change the grade level. So I want it to be still like in the elementary middle school area, but I think I'd prefer instead of second grade, I'd probably move it up to fourth or fifth, just because I want to be able to have like a bigger expectation for students. So that's something I might be doing. I still have to kind of rehearse it, but yeah, I had a lot of fun overall, and this really did teach me a little bit about Zoom as well as like a class lesson. So I'm very excited to continue with MicroTeach too. So thank you guys.